The night shift at the Horizon Dynamics building always had a specific scent, a blend of recycled AC air, freshly polished floors, and stale, rebrewed morning coffee. Ethan Ward was so accustomed to the smell that sometimes he found it more comforting than the air in his cramped apartment. He pushed his janitorial cart down the long hallway, the fluorescent lights flickering in patchy reflections on the tiles. That level 18 coffee maker is just plain dense. All it knows how to do is heat water. It's got zero emotional intelligence. My microwave at home is smarter than that thing. From a chair tucked into a corner of the hallway, Lucy looked up. She was wearing an oversized hoodie, her legs swinging back and forth. "Dad, you're talking to the appliances again." "No, I'm just coaching it on proper coffee etiquette. If it could talk, it would probably apologize for serving lukewarm brew." Lucy giggled and then bent back over her homemade toy robot, a contraption fashioned from a milk carton and old gears. "I think my bot is way smarter." "No doubt about it," Ethan agreed, pushing the cart further, his shoes making a regular squeaky rhythm on the floor. He paused at the large glass wall overlooking the city. Below, the lights streamed upward like reversed shooting stars. Sometimes he still found it strange. Every person down there was living their own story, while he was the one who came in last, sweeping up their dust. But he wasn't complaining, because every night like this, Lucy was safe inside the brightest tower in the city, where he could keep an eye on her. A sudden, sharp alert tone broke the quiet flow of his thoughts. The whole lights blinked once, then went completely dark. An emergency red stripe of illumination kicked on, splashing across the glass wall. "Here we go again," Ethan sighed. "I swear, those folks in engineering are just clocking nap time." He opened the digital panel on his cart and pressed a few buttons. No response from the system. Lucy looked up. "Dad, why is it so spooky dark?" "Guess the lights got tired." He twisted around, leaning down to his toolbox. Before he could grab his flashlight, another sound cut through the air, soft, rhythmic, like footsteps, but quicker and heavier than his own. 3 figures emerged from the far end of the hallway, heading straight toward them. Ethan narrowed his eyes. Not security. Too quiet, too synchronized. The emergency red lights scanned over them, reflecting off something shiny and metallic on their belts. "Lucy, get over here." His voice dropped to a whisper. She stood up, grabbing her father's hand. The 3 figures split formation. 1 peeled off to the left, and 2 kept marching straight. One of them spoke briefly into a headset, a low static sound crackling out. Ethan felt a chill run straight up his spine. "Mister, those guys—" Before Lucy could finish, Ethan gently pushed her behind the cleaning cart. "Sit down and close your eyes." One of the men produced something from his jacket. Not a firearm exactly, but definitely not a toy. In that moment, everything in Ethan shifted into the mode he had tried to bury for years. His body acted before his mind caught up. He hurled the mop he was holding hard at the ceiling light. The resulting bright red flash of light caused the 3 figures to freeze for half a second. That was all he needed. Ethan spun around, snatching a long wrench from his supply box. A swift horizontal sweep connected with the nearest man's wrist, metal against metal, sending the object clattering to the floor. He rotated his shoulder and delivered a sharp, crushing blow to the second man's temple with his elbow, neutralizing him. The last man backed up, retrieving a gleaming blade. Ethan raised his hands as if in surrender, then slapped a button on the control panel mounted on his floor cleaning cart. The tiny, round cleaning bot, the one he'd tinkered with to play with Lucy, instantly whirred to life. It zipped forward, rammed into his legs, and started loudly blaring, "Beep, beep." Ethan stepped forward, grabbed his shoulder, and twisted hard. The blade fell away, and Ethan used the mop handle to press the man down to the floor, securing his arms. In just 3 heartbeats, everything was silent.
Lucy peeked out from behind the cart, her eyes wide. "Dad!" "Yeah," Ethan panted, wiping sweat. "It's okay. They got really tired." He quickly pulled her close, covering her ears with his oil-stained hand. "Listen to me. Don't tell anyone about this, not even your teacher. Especially not your teacher." "But—" "No buts. This is our secret. Got it?" He managed a crooked smile, trying to reassure her. Lucy clinked tight to his shirt. The sound of metal rolling on the floor made him turn around. One of the three men was still breathing, trying to get up. Ethan picked up the wrench, delivering a gentle, sufficient tap that ensured the man stayed down. "Sorry, buddy, my shift's over." The main lights flickered back on, the elevator doors opened, and 3 uniformed security guards rushed out. One yelled, "What the heck happened here?"
Ethan looked around. 3 incapacitated figures, a broken mop, and a cleaning bot stuck in a corner, endlessly beeping. He shrugged. They slipped. The floor looked kind of slick. "Slipped?" The guard looked at him, then at the men sprawled out. "Yeah, all 3 at once. Must be the same kind of shoes." Ethan maintained a straight face. Lucy stood right next to him, nodding in agreement. "Yes, Dad cleans really well." The guard spoke into his radio. "I'm calling this in. We need to check the cameras." Ethan subtly glanced toward the corner where a camera was still blinking a red light. He knew that system had been temporarily knocked offline, probably by the intruders themselves. Still, he wasn't about to explain. The less said, the better. As they started searching the area, Ethan bent down to retrieve the small robot. A fresh scratch marred its plastic casing. He gently rubbed it. "Little hero, you're getting new batteries tonight." Lucy looked up, her voice small. "Dad, who were they?" Ethan was silent for a few seconds. He wanted to say they were just some drunks or petty thieves, but the cold, calculating look in their eyes earlier couldn't be mistaken. "I'm trying to figure that out too, kiddo." A guard turned back, looking suspicious. "The camera feed is corrupted. We only got half the footage. Might be due to the system shutting down." "See?" Ethan shrugged. "Slippery floor, lights out, just an accident." He pushed his cart away, his other hand gripping Lucy's shoulder firmly. Exiting the hallway, he caught his reflection in the glass. The 3 men were being moved onto stretchers, their faces covered, and the security team was buzzing with questions. Rumors would surely spread across the building by morning. A janitor taking down 3 strange figures with a mop and a floor scrubber? It sounded like a joke, but it was real. The elevator stopped at the 12th floor, and Ethan pulled Lucy out, walking down the empty corridor. "Were you scared?" "Not really. I just thought my robot was super cool." Ethan let out a small, relieved laugh. "Yeah, our robot is pretty awesome." When they entered the maintenance room, he closed the door, turned off the light, and sat down on a worn chair. Lucy leaned against his shoulder, her eyes drooping. Ethan checked the clock, almost 2 a.m. In his mind, old images flashed. A bright laboratory, blueprints for combat automatons, and the faces he had tried so hard to forget. He pulled out his phone, quickly entering a few commands to check the internal security system. A small data file popped up, logging an unauthorized access attempt to the Horizon network precisely at the time of the engagement. A clear signature. Not random thieves, but someone who knew exactly where to infiltrate.
Ethan turned off the screen and leaned back. Lucy was asleep, her small hand clutching his. He sighed softly. "Well, here we go again, Ethan." Outside, the city still glowed like a beast that never slept. High up in the tower, the security staff was still arguing about the 3 guys who slipped at the same time. One of them laughed, saying, "Maybe that janitor is a superhero." Ethan heard the remark, but just smiled. "Superheroes don't know how to cook dinner," he whispered, pulling his jacket over his daughter. The morning after the incident, the Horizon Dynamics building was no longer the quiet sanctuary of the night shift. Right from the lobby, security teams were everywhere, earpieces connected, their eyes constantly scanning the hallways. Everyone was buzzing, passing around the rumor about the janitor who subdued 3 trespassers. The news spread faster than the internal network. Ethan walked into the maintenance bay, holding a lukewarm cup of coffee with milk. He wore his old baseball cap pulled low, hoping to hide behind his floor scrubber like any other day. But before he could even power up the vacuum, a figure appeared at the end of the hall. High heels clicked softly on the tile, a steady, measured sound. Celeste Varon, Horizon's CEO, approached, flanked by 2 security personnel. She wore a simple tailored gray suit, her hair pulled back in a neat bun, her face devoid of expression. As she got closer, her gaze lingered on Ethan's coffee cup, then moved up to his face. "Are you Ethan Ward?" Ethan glanced around, as if checking if someone else with the same name was nearby. If you're looking for the guy who makes bad coffee, then yeah, that's me." No one laughed. Celeste motioned for the security team to disperse, then took 1 step closer. "I just reviewed the report from last night. 3 intruders, all professional mercenaries, all incapacitated. And the camera footage confirms you were the only person in that zone." "Total coincidence," Ethan said, tossing his paper cup into the trash. "I'm always there at night. Except yesterday." Celeste crossed her arms. "Are you trying to be funny?" "Nah, I'm just trying to avoid being fired for spilling floor cleaner." A moment of silence hung between them. One of the security guards nearby couldn't stifle a small cough. Celeste didn't react, her eyes still fixed on Ethan. "What did you do to them?" "Slippery floor," Ethan replied. His seriousness made her squint. 3 guys fell at once. I told them to watch their step." 3 armed men, and you had nothing." "Well, I had a mop, high-tech gear, lithium battery. Extremely dangerous if you use it in the wrong direction."
Celeste looked at him for a long time, her eyes tracing his calloused hands, the faint scars on his wrist, not the marks of someone who only handles a mop. "What did you do before you came here?" Ethan answered quickly, almost instinctively. "Residential electrical technician. I gave up the trade a long time ago." "No diploma, no records from the last 7 years, Celeste stated, her voice low but heavy. "My system found nothing. It's like you never existed." He offered a tired smile. "Maybe I just don't post much on social media." Celeste didn't respond. She turned, issuing a brief command. "Check all cameras again, including the technical floor." Then she walked away, leaving Ethan standing there, his cold coffee evaporating in the cool air.
On the top floor, the Horizon Dynamics Command Center was as vast as a high-end restaurant. Celeste stood by the glass wall, looking down at the city. From up here, everything was reduced to a gigantic circuit board. People moving, cars running, traffic lights blinking like pre-programmed light points. "Give me the investigation results," she said, without turning around. The assistant placed a file in front of her. "Ethan Ward. No prior arrests, no medical records before 5 years ago, no biometric data in the National Defense System, but his fingerprints have characteristics that match a sample stored in an old security database, a military-grade clearance code." Celeste clenched her fingers. "Military grade?" "Precisely. He likely worked for the Department of Defense or an affiliated organization." She closed the file, silent for a few seconds. Outside, rain began to fall, small droplets streaming down the glass like lines of corrupted data. "He's lying," she whispered. The assistant glanced at her. "Should we notify law enforcement, ma'am?" "No. The police aren't fast enough, and I want to know myself why an anonymous technician took down 3 professional operatives in 6 seconds." At the same time, in another location, a luxurious room deep underground in the suburbs, Marcus Dren sat before a large monitor. News from Horizon Dynamics was playing live. 3 individuals intercepted at the tower, identities not yet disclosed, a maintenance worker involved. Marcus smirked, lighting a cigarette. "Ward," he murmured, pulling the screen closer. The woman standing next to him asked, "You know him?" "Know him? He's the only man who cost me 2 years and tens of millions of dollars." Marcus crushed out the cigarette, his eyes cold. "But this is good. He just revealed himself. My last piece on the board at Horizon is ready."
That afternoon, Ethan was called up to the security office for a follow-up discussion. He knew these kinds of meetings usually led to one of 2 outcomes: a bonus or a pink slip. He peered into the conference room, which was filled with people in suits. The air was thick, like sludge in a coffee machine. "Have a seat," the manager said. "We just have a few more questions." First question is probably, why did 3 people fall at once, right? Ethan chuckled softly. No one replied. The man pushed a piece of paper toward him. "Sign this to verify your statement." Ethan skimmed the small print. Confidentiality clauses, personal liability, workplace conduct. He scribbled his signature. "I'm just a cleaner. If someone tries to breach security, I think the most logical reaction is to keep them from dirtying the floor further." The man gave him a look, about to say something, when the door opened. Celeste Varon walked in, cutting through the tense atmosphere. Everyone stood up. "You gentlemen may leave," she said curtly. When the door closed, only the 2 of them remained. Ethan leaned back in his chair. "If you're planning to fire me, at least let me finish my coffee first." Celeste stood straight, her hands resting on the table. "You are not a normal person. I need to know who you are." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "I'm the guy who knows how to clean a building without breaking stuff. That's a rare commodity." "Stop messing around," she cut in. "You might have saved your daughter's life last night, but you've also dragged serious danger into this entire building." "You think I invited them? I think they were looking for you, not me, and that deeply concerns me." Ethan fell silent. The light reflecting off the table shone in his eyes, the eyes of someone who had seen things others didn't want to remember. "Maybe you're right," he said softly. "But if they really were looking for me, then you should start worrying about yourself." Celeste paused. "Are you threatening me?" "No. I'm just saying, if someone is good enough to track me down, they are good enough to slip into Horizon's security system." He stood up. "I've seen this before." She watched him, her gaze meeting a nameless apprehension, not fear, but realization. This man was not like those who lied to cover up mistakes. He spoke like someone who knew the future would be much worse. Ethan walked toward the door. "I'm heading out. My daughter gets out of school early." "Ward?" He turned back. Celeste spoke slowly. "You are temporarily suspended until the investigation is complete, and I will come to see you in person when needed." "Sounds like a date invitation." He offered a weary smile and walked out. That night, the father and daughter's apartment was on the 5th floor of an old building. The staircase lights flickered, the walls were peeling, but inside the small space was strangely cozy. Lucy was coloring her robot on the table, while Ethan was tinkering with a faulty toaster. "Dad, I told my friends about my robot at school today, and they said it was like a superhero movie." "Yeah, except your superhero knows how to vacuum," Ethan said, plugging it in. The toaster flashed brightly and then went dead, and I still can't get it to toast evenly on both sides. Lucy laughed, then looked out the window. "Someone's outside." Ethan turned around. A black car was parked directly in front of the building, its headlights off. He frowned, cautiously pulling back the curtain. The car window rolled down. A woman stepped out, her high heels clicking softly on the cement.
Ethan watched as she walked into the old hallway, her steps firm, as if she were familiar with the place. A minute later, a knock came at the door. He opened it. Celeste Varon stood there, carrying a leather briefcase. The yellow light of the hallway illuminated a face that was no longer as cold as it had been that morning, but etched with suppressed fatigue. "We need to talk," she said simply, and fast. He leaned his shoulder against the doorframe. "Aren't you afraid of dirtying your shoes?" Celeste replied, "My shoes can be cleaned. Lives can't." He looked at her for a moment, then quietly opened the door. "Come in then, but all I have is instant coffee."
In the small apartment, the faint yellow light from the single bulb spilled onto the dining table, streaking the surface with patchy reflections. Celeste sat across from Ethan, her hands clasped, her eyes following his every move as if trying to peel back the tough outer layer surrounding this man. Lucy was asleep on the sofa, her head resting on a plastic teddy bear robot, her breathing quiet and steady. Ethan was pouring coffee into 2 chipped ceramic mugs. The smell of instant coffee permeated the small room. He pushed one mug toward Celeste. "My home coffee has only 2 flavors, bitter and very bitter. Take your pick." She didn't touch it. "Who are you, really?" Ethan sat down, resting his elbows on the table, his eyes showing a flicker of exhaustion. "I'm the night shift floor cleaner you met yesterday." She looked straight at him, her voice low but firm. "Those 3 men were trained. They don't just slip at the same time. You disabled them. By skill, not luck." Ethan was silent, his finger tracing the rim of the mug. Outside the window, rain pattered on the tin roof. He spoke slowly. "Have you ever heard of the AX-9 program?" Celeste paused slightly. "It was an autonomous military technology. I only know it was aborted after a testing mishap." Ethan nodded faintly. "It wasn't a mishap. It was a catastrophe, and I was the one who designed it." "You?" "I used to be an engineer on the military automation response robot development team. AX-9 was my brainchild, a system capable of threat recognition, reacting 10 times faster than a human. It was created to save people, but it ended up eliminating them." He stopped, taking a deep breath. "During a test, the system misidentified a signal. 5 people died, 2 were severely injured. I walked away from everything after that day. No one on the team wanted to take responsibility, so I shouldered it all." She watched him for a long moment. "You went into hiding." "I left. I didn't hide. I wanted to end it." Ethan's voice was hoarse. "My daughter and I moved. I buried everything. I thought the past would just decay on its own." Celeste leaned back in the chair. "And Marcus Dren?"
My former colleague. He stole the core algorithm of AX-9. When I found out, I reported up the chain. He disappeared. I thought he was gone for good." Ethan looked up. "If you've seen him surface around Horizon, it means he's trying to finish what he started." The air in the room grew heavy. Both were silent, with only the steady tick of a clock marking time. A very small sound came through, whirring, like an insect outside the window. Ethan turned his head. A small blinking light was hovering outside the glass pane. He shot up, walking quickly toward the window, gently pulling the curtain aside. A small, palm-sized drone was suspended there, its camera lens aimed directly inside the room, where Lucy was sleeping. "Don't move," he whispered. In an instant, he pulled a screwdriver from his pocket, flipped the window latch, opened it slightly, and threw it with force. The throw was so accurate that the screwdriver jammed into the rotor. It spun wildly, wobbled, and fell onto the awning below. A dry clank echoed, then silence. Ethan bolted out into the hallway, taking the stairs 3 steps at a time.
But when he reached the yard, the drone was gone. All that remained was a faint tire skid mark and the smell of burnt engine oil. Someone had retrieved it before he got there. Celeste stood in the doorway, her coat draped over her shoulder, her eyes fixed on the courtyard. This can't be happening. They're monitoring me. They must be. They want Horizon's data. Ethan looked up, his voice low. No. Now they are targeting my daughter. She froze. What do you mean? You don't get it. The AX-9 system uses biometric recognition technology. Its protocol was programmed using the DNA signatures of everyone involved in the project. I'm one of them. If Marcus wants to regain access to the system's core, he needs my genetic code. Or Lucy's. Celeste suddenly stepped back, her face momentarily paling. Oh my God. Ethan looked up, his eyes completely changed. No longer the casual sarcasm of the night shift janitor, but the look of a person who had survived the worst. He's not just looking for me, he's going to use her to force me to unlock the system.
Celeste quickly walked toward the door, pulling out her phone. We have to get out of here. They could come back any time. Ethan crossed his arms. Where to? Horizon. There's security there and my people. Here, all you have is a few toy robots. He glanced at Lucy sleeping, her hair covering half her face. A moment of hesitation crossed his features. He knew Celeste was right. This house was no longer safe. Ethan turned back to the table, retrieving an old suitcase. He opened it. Inside were various odds and ends. Spare batteries, Lucy's toys, instant noodles, a few small tools. You don't have to worry. I'm used to cleaning up messes. Celeste watched him pack, saying nothing. When Lucy woke up, her eyes were still sleepy. Dad, where are we going? On an adventure. Somewhere fancier, Ethan said, zipping up the suitcase. Bring your robot. Lucy hugged the robot to her chest, nodding, asking no further questions. On the way out of the complex, the rain was still drizzling. Celeste opened the car door, gesturing for them to get in. Ethan looked at the sleek black SUV, unable to hide his sarcasm. Does this thing have motion sickness bags? My daughter isn't used to luxury. She didn't reply, just opened the trunk. He placed the suitcase inside, then lifted Lucy into the seat. As the car rolled, the windshield wipers swept rhythmically across the glass. Do you think they'll track us? She asked. Definitely. But at least they won't think you'd bring me to the place where you work. Celeste turned, frowning. Are you calling me stupid? No, I'm calling you brave. The two concepts are often quite close. The car turned onto the highway. The city lights receded behind them. Lucy fell asleep, her head resting on her father's shoulder. Ethan looked at his daughter, his eyes softening. He didn't know what awaited them at Horizon, but at least for now, she was safe. Celeste kept her gaze fixed on the road ahead. If Marcus is truly behind this, we are tangling with something bigger than both of us. You worry about the big stuff. I just worry about the little one. She tilted her head, glancing at him. Are you planning not to cooperate? I am cooperating, but we have different goals. He gently adjusted Lucy's seatbelt. You want to protect the company. I just want to protect my kid.
The car stopped in front of Horizon's gate. The automatic lights came on, illuminating the rain-slicked reflective glass. The gate opened, the mechanical sound echoing like the breath of a waking beast. Ethan stepped out first, carrying Lucy in his arms. Celeste followed, opening the door and turning back. What exactly did you bring in that suitcase? It feels heavy. Mostly fast food, a few robots, and the mop, he said flatly. I feel safer with it. Celeste simply exhaled, a mixture of annoyance and amusement. You seriously don't know when to be serious. That's how I survive, Ethan said, briefly looking around the empty lobby.
The top floor of Horizon Dynamics was brightly lit all night,
The glass walls offered panoramic views of the rain-soaked city, neon lights reflecting brightly on the polished floor. Amidst the cold, perfectly sterile space, Lucy was huddled on the conference table, surrounded by swivel chairs arranged in a circle. "My fort is finished," she whispered loudly, holding up her plastic robot, the only colorful toy in the white-filled room. Ethan sat in the corner, typing on the old laptop he'd brought. Beside him were scattered components disassembled from the pantry's coffee machine. Wires, duct tape, and screws lay everywhere. "Be careful, Princess. Don't sit on the gray swivel chair. That's the central control station." Celeste stood nearby with her arms crossed, raising an eyebrow. "I thought you were designing a defense system, not building a kid's space station." Ethan looked up, a half-smile on his face. "Are you surprised I can do both?" Celeste glared at him, but her expression was slightly gentler. Since bringing the father and daughter to Horizon, she had seen clearly. Ethan was unlike anyone she had ever known. He worked without protocol, without reports, and without orders. He just operated on instinct. And strangely, that instinct was effective. On the main command center screen, multiple data windows displayed a wave of strange access attempts from external auxiliary servers. Celeste quickly typed a few commands, her voice low. "Starting at 2 a.m., a team has been constantly scanning Horizon's security system. We blocked 7 waves, but the 8th used an internal access code. Someone inside the company is helping them." Ethan looked up. "I assume you have a suspect list." 3 people, all in the senior technical department. Don't rule anyone out. Trust is the biggest luxury when machines know how to betray you. Celeste offered a faint smile. "Do you always talk like that?" "Only when I'm scared." He hit a few keys, and the internal security schematic appeared on the screen. Marcus doesn't need to break in. He just needs someone to open the door for him. And, if I were him, I'd use a robot. Celeste tilted her head. "Meaning?" "He's implanted a reconnaissance bot into the operational system. Horizon has over 500 service robots, floor cleaners, delivery, safety checks. If he can control one, he can pave the way for hundreds more."
Celeste was silent. She looked down at the floor below, where robots moved steadily through the corridors, each heading a different way, but all obeying a single central command. The thought of that system being compromised sent a chill down her spine. "We can cut off all connection," she said. "No," Ethan replied. "If you cut it off suddenly, Marcus will know you've discovered him. We need to keep it running so he thinks he still has control." Celeste leaned on the table, her hands lightly supporting her weight. "And what are you planning to do in the meantime?" Ethan picked up a tube from the coffee machine, plugging it into a small round device. "Set a trap." Celeste squinted. "Are you kidding me?" "No. Horizon's automated system is controlled by low-frequency signals. If I emit a feedback signal from your own coffee machine, I can create a jamming zone that confuses the robot's commands. Simple, easy to set up, and saves electricity." "It sounds like a comedy movie." "You're living in one then," Ethan shrugged. "You think I wanted to turn a coffee maker into a weapon? Trust me, if I can hack a robot with a bamboo stick, you should give me a raise." Celeste slightly shook her head, a small laugh escaping her. "You're the only person who makes me simultaneously terrified and amused. It's a natural talent. You should be grateful." While he was busy connecting wires, Lucy pulled a chair closer to Celeste. "Miss Celeste, my fort has room for grown-ups. Want to try it?" Celeste looked at the stack of swivel chairs with the glowing toy robot in the middle. "I think I'd break it." "No way. I already tried with Dad. He's heavier than you." Ethan looked up, feigning protest. "Hey, take that back. I'm just more heavily muscled."
Lucy's soft laughter echoed in the space, usually filled only with the hum of machines. Celeste paused, unable to recall the last time she had laughed so naturally. A sudden warning signal appeared on the monitor. Red lights flashed, and a message scrolled across.
Unauthorized access from level 17, robot operational system unstable. Celeste rushed to the control panel, typing rapidly. There's a strange movement command, internal source. Ethan stood up, scanning the security cameras. In the level 17 corridor, a floor cleaning robot was spinning in circles, its indicator lights blinking erratically. 1, then 2, then 3 more appeared, all turning toward the elevator. Marcus has started the test. He's taken control. Should we disconnect the entire system? Not yet. He sat down, plugging a signal cable from his laptop into a wall outlet. I need him to think we're still blind. Celeste glanced at him, then turned to Lucy. Lucy, come here. Stand close to me. Ethan said nothing, focusing solely on the screen. His fingers moved quickly, streams of code flashing by. Sweat beaded on his forehead. If I'm right, the control signal is being relayed through an intermediary device. He's not connecting directly, but via a proxy. I just need to... He stopped, looking at the coffee machine vibrating gently. Oh, Miss Celeste, has your coffee machine ever talked before? No, and I hope it's not planning to. Well, it's singing now. He pointed to the screen. I'm broadcasting a reverse feedback signal through its power source. In a few seconds, all the robots will receive the sleep command. The screen flickered. A small beep sounded, then all the warning lights on the control panel turned green. Done, Ethan said, leaning back in his chair, breathing a sigh of relief. Your robots just learned how to, take a lunch break. Celeste exhaled, a mix of surprise and admiration. You actually used the coffee machine to shut down the system? Precisely. Your system has thousands of connection points. No one thinks about the coffee maker. Except me. Lucy clapped, laughing loudly. Dad's a superhero! Ethan raised an eyebrow at Celeste. See? I'm getting recognition. She smiled faintly. You truly are a useful eccentric.
Thanks. I take that as a compliment. Celeste returned to the control panel, her voice growing serious. Marcus is getting closer. He has someone inside the company, and now he knows you're alive. We can't just play defense. We have to find out who paved the way for him. Ethan stood up, looking at the faint reflection in the glass. I'll need time, but you should prepare yourself. This time, he won't just send robots. You mean, next time he'll send people. Celeste was silent. Outside the glass, a distant flash of lightning signaled another downpour approaching, and in horizon, Ethan leaned down for a final check of his improvised defense system, the peculiar trio, a coffee maker, an old camera, and a floor scrubber. He patted the small round robot, whispering, "Time to be a hero again, kid." The robot gave a beep, and Celeste, despite not believing in omens, felt a cold premonition run through her. The sky above horizon was pitch black, and the wind slamming against the high-rise glass sounded like the shriek of something approaching. Ethan sensed the change in the air the moment he stepped into the central technical room. The main screens flickered, then all went dark simultaneously. In a split second, the entire building was plunged into darkness. Celeste was mid-sentence when the alarm system began to wail, urgent and suffocating. The emergency lights turned red, illuminating her face in a blood-like hue. Lucy gripped her father's hand tightly. "Dad, what is that?" Ethan didn't answer, just pulled his daughter behind him. "The system's been breached." He glanced at Celeste. "Marcus is making his move." The metal door at the end of the corridor was thrown open. The sound of metal scraping against the wall was chilling. 3 combat automatons stormed in, twice the size of a human, their shells gleaming, moving precisely and coldly. They were the finalized version of AX-9, the very thing Ethan had created to save people, now turned back to pursue him. Celeste activated the security system, but the screen displayed only the words, "Access denied." "She's locked down the controls," she said quickly. Ethan opened a technical cabinet, pulling out something that resembled a mini flamethrower made from gas pipes.
This used to be for brazing copper pipes, but it should be enough to scare these guys."
Celeste's eyes widened. "You're going to fight robots with a soldering torch?" "No, I'm just planning to preheat breakfast earlier." Ethan squeezed the trigger, a brilliant jet of fire erupting. He charged forward, striking the first robot hard. The flame hit its optical sensor, making it spin erratically. He used the momentum, delivering a kick that sent it crashing into the wall. A small explosion followed, and smoke billowed. "One!" he yelled, turning to Celeste, who was pulling Lucy across the corridor. The remaining two robots changed direction. They recognized the movement, splitting up, one pursuing Ethan, the other advancing toward Celeste. "Run!" Ethan yelled. He grabbed a nearby vacuum cleaner, plugged it in, and yanked the cord. The machine roared. He brandished it like a weapon, shouting as he ran. "If I survive this, I'm writing a book on fighting with a vacuum cleaner." Lucy, far away, still managed to shout, "I'll draw the cover for you, Dad!" Celeste practically dragged the girl toward the emergency elevator. The doors closed just as the second robot discharged a bolt of energy into the wall, shaking the entire floor. Ethan rolled past a control desk, narrowly avoiding a red energy beam that sliced through the air. He hit the emergency button, activating the auxiliary power system. The lights came back on, shining directly on the advancing robot. In the bright light, he clearly saw the AX9 logo, the letters he'd etched with his own hand 10 years ago. A wave of anger and pain washed over him. He threw the vacuum cleaner. It struck the robot sensor head, sparking. Ethan rushed in, slamming the wrench onto the power box on its back. The robot staggered, powered down, and crashed to the floor. "One more left," he murmured.
On the command floor, Celeste opened an emergency screen. A window popped up, a live image of Marcus Dren, sitting in a distant control room, his face illuminated by the screen. He smiled, his voice echoing through the speakers. "Long time no see, Ward. I have to say, you still know how to make an entrance." Ethan wiped the sweat, standing in the main lobby. "Marcus, 10 years later and you still have that smug voice? You were once my pride, but you betrayed me. Today you'll see how AX9 achieves perfection." From the ceiling, a metallic shriek rang out. A massive automaton dropped from the utility shaft, landing hard and cracking the floor. It was 3 times the size of the previous ones, with the logo AX9 Prime on its chest. Celeste screamed, "Get out of there!" "Too late." Ethan shook his head. "It uses biometric identification. It's only targeting me." Celeste pulled Lucy behind a glass wall. "You can't tangle with that thing alone." "Trust me," he said, giving a wry smile. "I raised it. I know where its soft spot is." The robot advanced, its eyes blazing, emitting a synthesized voice. "Target, Ethan Ward. Neutralize." Ethan grabbed his laptop, typing furiously. He connected to the auxiliary network, searching for the signal transmission path. If he's controlling it remotely, I can reverse program it in 10 seconds. Marcus laughed loudly through the speaker. "I've upgraded, Ward. You can't stop it with the old commands anymore." Ethan looked directly into the camera, replying, "I'm not going to stop it. I'm going to teach it to betray you." He plugged the signal cable into Horizon's auxiliary system, drawing power from the very coffee machine he had modified. On the screen, a continuous chain of code ran. The AX9 Prime robot froze for a half second, then its optics blinked. Marcus scowled. "What the hell are you doing?" "I'm planting the seeds of consciousness in my creation." He typed the final command. "I'm teaching it the concept of wrong." The robot stopped, its arm lowering, the system reversing. The sound of grinding metal echoed, then it turned its head toward the camera transmitting Marcus's image. A red glow focused in its chest.
"No!" Marcus screamed, but it was too late. The robot discharged all its energy feedback toward the control source. Celeste's screen flashed blindingly. Then a violent explosion shook the entire floor. All of Horizon rattled. Glass panels shattered, smoke and light filled the lobby. Ethan was thrown backward, his knee bleeding. He crawled toward Lucy. Celeste was already embracing the girl, holding her tight. "Ethan," she called. He stood up, staggering but still smiling. "I think my robot just learned how to fight back." Outside, systems began to power down. The security broadcast system played a guard's voice. "System secure. All automatons deactivated. The intruder has been apprehended." Ethan stumbled forward, looking through the glass. In the courtyard, security forces were restraining Marcus Dren, who was covered in dust and screaming like a madman. "It can't be! AX-9 is mine!" Ethan looked at him from a distance, softly saying, "No, it belongs to justice, and someone who knew right from wrong." Lucy ran and hugged him tight. "Dad, are you okay?" He nodded, taking a deep breath. "Okay, mostly. Might be sore all over tomorrow, but okay." Celeste walked up, her coat scorched, her heel broken, her hair disheveled. She looked at him from head to toe, then suddenly burst out laughing, a tired yet relieved sound. "That's the first time I've seen someone save the world with household appliances." Ethan looked around, the charred vacuum cleaner, the dented floor robot, the smoking coffee machine, and smiled. Well, at least it still made a cappuccino before it went critical. Celeste collapsed onto the floor, watching him and Lucy embrace amidst the smoke and dust. "You are truly insane." "Maybe, but if I have to be crazy to keep my daughter safe, I'll be crazy for life." A ray of light broke through the dark clouds, and the city outside began to lighten up again. Fire engine sirens echoed, mixed with the sound of helicopters. Ethan looked out the broken window, his hand resting on his daughter's shoulder. "It's over, kiddo. Everything is over." Lucy leaned out of his embrace, smiling. "Promise you won't build any more robots?" Ethan nodded. "Yeah, unless it's a pancake-making robot."
Celeste chuckled, a rare, unforced laugh. She watched the father and daughter, a feeling she hadn't remembered for a long time washing over her. Peace. The atmosphere in Horizon in the days following the conflict was completely transformed. The building still smelled of burnt metal, but people laughed more often. Police, government, media, everyone wanted to know the identity of the janitor who saved the world. Ethan avoided it all. He only appeared once in a government interrogation room, returning his old military ID card and signing a brief statement, "I'm done." The Defense Department representative tried to persuade him, "We can reinstate your position, offer a budget, a private lab." Ethan cut him off, a wry smile on his face. "I've built enough things for the world to fear. Now, I just want to make a pancake that my daughter can eat." They looked at him as if he were joking, but Ethan wasn't. He stood up, shook hands, and walked away, feeling lighter than at any point since the events began. Celeste met him a few days later in a small coffee shop on Horizon's ground floor. She wasn't wearing her usual suit, but a white shirt and jeans, a rare sight that Ethan almost didn't recognize. "The coffee here is brewed by the machine you saved. It's still functioning. I hope it doesn't activate its self-defense mode this time. I don't want another explosion." Celeste leaned toward him. "I have an offer." "For the coffee machine? Because it deserves a promotion." "For you." She looked straight at him. "Head of Technical Security for Horizon. Official title, salary, and fixed hours to go home. And you won't have to scrub floors anymore." Ethan slowly put down his mug. "Sounds tempting. But can I still wear my old janitor jacket? As long as you don't make the floor robot fire lasers again." He laughed. "That's a good deal." 3 months later, the city gradually returned to its normal rhythm. Horizon shone brightly as a symbol of rebirth. Lucy started a new school, her small backpack swinging on her shoulder, and Ethan now had his own office, where he hung a sign reading, "No entry without a pancake." Every morning he dropped his daughter off at school, then returned to Horizon, where Celeste still kept her 8 o'clock coffee routine. She was less cold, sometimes even joking. The employees in the building looked at them, Half surprised, half curious, they called them the Weird Alliance, and perhaps they were right. One late afternoon weekend, the Central Park was bathed in golden sunlight. Lucy was driving a small electric toy car that her father had assembled, circling a bench. Ethan sat under a tree, shirt sleeves rolled up, and Celeste, wearing a simple dress, sat beside him with an iced coffee. "The left wheel is off balance," Ethan said, his eyes glued to the car. "Madam CEO, if it breaks, I'm billing you for repairs." Celeste glanced at him, a slight smirk on her lips. "Send me the invoice. I'll pay in Horizon stock." "No need. I only accept coffee as payment." Lucy drove the car up and slammed on the brakes in front of them. "Dad, I went 3 seconds faster than yesterday." Ethan clapped. 3 seconds is a record. At this speed, you can join the Toy Grand Prix soon." Celeste chuckled, leaning down to stroke Lucy's hair. "The best driver in the city." Lucy looked up, her eyes bright. "Miss Celeste, do you want to get ice cream with my dad and me?" Celeste hesitated, looking at Ethan. He shrugged, his tone half teasing, half serious. "She's afraid of sweets. She even saves sugar in her smile." Celeste lowered her voice. "I'm not afraid. I'm just busy." Lucy tilted her head. "Busy doing what?" The innocent question made her laugh. "Busy living, I suppose." Ethan stood up, offering his hand. "Then go live by getting ice cream, CEO. That's an order from the head of technical security." The three walked along the sunlit path, the breeze gently swaying the branches, Lucy's laughter echoing far away. They stopped at a small ice cream parlor at the end of the road. Lucy chose chocolate. Celeste ordered vanilla, and Ethan insisted on strawberry, to prove men can like pink too. Sitting on a bench, Lucy looked up at the sky, whispering, "Are we safe now?"
Ethan looked at his daughter, then at Celeste, who was smiling softly beside him, her eyes gentle in the evening light. He replied, his voice soft as a breath, "Safe, and we have chocolate ice cream." Lucy laughed loudly, smearing a streak of ice cream on her father's nose. Celeste shook her head, smiling. "You really can never be serious." Ethan looked at them, his gaze warm. "Because if I were serious, who would crack jokes to make you smile?" She didn't reply, just looked at him for a long moment, the smile still there, unguarded, unconcealed. The last rays of sun stretched across the grass. In their view, horizon dynamics reflected the brilliant gold, no longer a cold glass block, but a part of the sky itself. Ethan leaned back on the bench, Lucy nestled between them, her feet swinging, her ice cream cup nearly overflowing. He said softly, half joking, "You know, if anyone asks how I saved the world, I'll tell them with a mop, a robot, and 2 women who made me believe everything was worth living for." Celeste turned, her eyes shining with something very real. "You might have just invented the recipe for happiness." Ethan smiled, saying nothing. He just watched Lucy, the girl busy painting streaks of chocolate ice cream on her paper cup, and realized that after all the chaos, the conflict, and the loss, the only thing he hadn't lost was the reason to start over. In his ear, Lucy cheered, "I think Mom would love this place, Dad." Ethan paused, then nodded gently. "Yeah, your mom would love it." Celeste quietly placed her hand on his shoulder, saying nothing more. Amidst the setting sun, the laughter, the smell of ice cream, and the gentle breeze, they sat together, 3 people who had been brought together by fear and now remained for the peace. And when Lucy took both their hands, pulling them toward the ice cream counter once more,
Ethan understood that the storm had truly passed. All that remained was light and laughter and the sweetness of a new day.